Welcome, everyone, to Unity Live. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so grateful you're here. Unity has been birthed with the intention of creating a sacred space for us to gather collectively and partake in the ceremonial sipping of tea and connect with inspiring way sharers who are dedicated to unity consciousness, to heart expansion, and to the ascension of all beings. So we are so grateful. We have an incredible show for you tonight, and we're so excited to introduce our guest in just a moment. But before we get started, we are going to be led in a beautiful sacred ceremony and tea blessing.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for your patience. We'd like to start the evening off by doing a cellular water activation and activation of the tea and any water that you may have brought to sip on. Okay. So closing our eyes for a moment and allowing ourselves to drop into our heart space, taking a few deep breaths and just connecting to our hearts, connecting with one another in this beautiful space and community of light, and setting the intention to call in the greatest healing miracles capable of manifesting here and now with grace and ease in accordance to the highest divine law and order. Pouring down and all around each and every one of us, Divine Mother Sophia Source's womb of all creation, above, below, side to side, and all around us, bringing us into the 0 point connection field, the everything and the nothing. And as we gather in this space, connecting our hearts with one another, connecting to our intention and coming fully present into this now moment, we bring forth frequencies to bless our cellular water, our cellular DNA, and that of the tea and the water that we've brought to sip on. Pouring diamond light down and through and into each and every one of us. Uru kuruson okuru eni anda okuru as okuru eni an anuku ishtukurusani oto a asukuri eni shukursani eni a do. Ara sukurs anutare sukianian aniatari unto kurusani ustakuru anianti akure aniori ariusun okuris aniar urs ana okuruasi an aniani anukure okuriani us anian Coming back into our heart spaces, coming back into this now moment, and opening this beautiful community and container to welcome our beautiful guest for this evening. Thank you. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is.
Thank you. That was so beautiful and grounding. And now we're so excited to introduce our guest this evening. Velentaya Reece is a vibrational linguist, intuitive guide, and pure conduit of divine light, a trance channel for a variety of galactic, angelic, and other high dimensional collectives. She transmits multiple dialects of light language and written codes to expand an individual beyond the current timeline of disharmony to which one is in alignment with their soul blueprint.
Additionally, her work aims to promote physical healing, crystallize the DNA, and align to greater states of peace, joy, and abundance. Velentaya has used light and sound as a tool for shifting consciousness throughout her many incarnations in various star systems. Her experiences spread far and wide, with a lifetime spent with the ancient Pleiadians, Arcturians, Andromedans, and Hathors, to name just a few. The Pleiadians serve as gatekeepers and assist in preparing and integrating the energies. Every transmission is a multi-sensory experience, as the benevolent beings utilize her structure, consciousness, and vocal cords to interact in real time. The result is a permanent dimensional shift where new and more harmonious timeline potentials become available.
Welcome, Velentaya. We're so grateful you're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Thanks for
excited
joining
to
us.
be here.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about vibrating into the new paradigm, reminders to remember yourself as source, which is such a powerful reminder at this time.
Yeah, for sure. I see it so much in sessions with many of the beautiful people that I get to work with, where there's just that missing thing that's kind of keeping them stuck in some program or belief system that they haven't been able to expand beyond. And so bringing that awareness through vibrational work that we do with the frequencies that are transmitted, and also then bringing in intentional tools and practices that people can do each day to help stay in alignment, to help hold that frequency and new timeline potential that opens up for them. Because a lot of times, and I did this too in the beginning, where I would be receiving work and receiving sessions, and then going back into my real world and my normal life, and going back into old patterns and old behaviors, because at that point in time, I didn't understand. I didn't understand that I had to maintain whatever the teacher, the practitioner was doing to assist me. And I think it's always divinely timed in where we are. And for me at that point, it was exactly what it needed to be. But I believe that we can always help and assist by offering these tools and tips to help support people as they're going through their own journey.
Yeah, I love that so much. And one thing that I think is fascinating about your story and that I can relate to is the fact that you had this time, and you talk about, this time and space to really go within and do that inner healing work. And I'd love if you could, describe and share a little bit about that journey. And also, I think it's something that's important is, in 2020, we had the opportunity for, those who chose to be a little bit more internal, to be a little bit more, reflective and quiet. And, I'm just curious for you and your personal journey when things, maybe started accelerating a little bit, how you were able to maintain that, all the gifts that you were cultivating, and, what that experience was like for you.
Sure. For me, it was almost like sheer necessity. I was in my own little personal trauma and drama, and watching that play out. And for those who don't know, like, I lost my job, I lost the relationship, my dog got hit with a terminal illness. And so my whole worlds were like all crashing down at once. And the perpetual victim that I was always, external reality is creator of what I'm experiencing. And so there was just this inner voice that said, enough. This is, if you want something different, you have to do something different. And I was at a place where I was crying all day long. I was so distraught that I listened to that inner voice, and I started with mirror work and looking in the mirror and saying, I love you, and bursting into tears every single time. There was just so much self-love that I needed to cultivate, because I was living my life where I was getting that sense of love and safety and security from everything outside of me, from the job, from the relationship, from the pet. And so when all of those things kind of went, nope, no more, you don't get this anymore, you have to start looking in other directions. And so I just started with that. It was difficult. People sometimes think that my story sounds a little bit easy, but it was very difficult. And I stuck with it, and I started to feel a little better after about 3 weeks, but it was torture. I would force myself to do it because there was that part of me pulling me back into the lower frequency and just saying, oh, you feel comfortable here, why don't you stay here? But just that inner knowing that I had, if I wanted to move forward, I had to change and do something different than what I'm doing now. And that's kind of like that dance between the human self and third density and that higher self and that higher knowing coming in and saying, I can guide you in a different way. You have to listen. It might not be comfortable, but there will be bliss and peace and joy on the other end of it if you continue down the path. So getting those little reminders and following that and pushing myself when I didn't want to, but also too acknowledging that there are days when it's okay to be in the density, because the density is there to teach us something as well, to teach us where we need to transform, what we're not letting go of, what program we're still playing out, or where we're stuck. And so acknowledging it and being grateful for it, but then also learning how over time, which I'm still learning, is how to release it, right? Release it with love and grace and ease, and fully embody the truth that we are.
Yeah. You mentioned mirror work. Were there any other modalities that you kind of got started with?
So I had already taken Reiki at that point in time to help me with my own stress of the job. So I would do self-care strictly for me and to help keep my frequency and just help with that. Later on in my journey, I studied Akashic records. But at that point in time, it was really just the mirror work and asking questions, trying to connect to that higher wisdom. And for me, it kind of amazes me that I even knew to do that, because at that point in time, I really was not on this path. It was more just to relieve stress. And so just saying, what is next for me? What do I need to know? What direction should I be going in? Now that I've lost my job, I know that there's something bigger there that I'm supposed to be doing that's more aligned to my heart and soul. So show me what that is, and then I started, okay, is it hypnotherapy? What is it? What is it? What is it? And eventually got led to this event where someone was speaking light language. And my human self was like, I don't want to go to this. I just want to stay home. I just want to be in my little bubble. And my friend was like, you're going, you have to go to this. And, little resistant me was like, oh, I'm so mad. They're dragging me to this thing. And it ended up being the greatest blessing, because this woman spoke light language. I had no idea what it was. I'd never heard of it. She spoke a few sentences, and I thought, wow, I think this is that thing, but I'm not sure, Went home that night, set the intention for bed, like before bed, if this is that thing, show me that that's what I'm looking for. And literally woke up singing in light language in the middle of the night.
Wow.
That's
So
awesome. Oh, well, maybe it didn't feel necessarily awesome at the time, or did it?
Yeah.
How was it?
I was a little bit scared because I didn't really know what it was, except for her saying, I speak light language. So my little inner researcher immediately got online and started learning and trying to figure out what this was. And there was some fear involved with that, because I really was not have a prior awareness besides childhood with like the whole galactic beings. And I had situations as a child being up on ships and remembering that and feeling, very loving experiences at times. But I didn't really know different races, or at least not consciously. And so when I started hearing about this, and literally Pleiadians flashing something on my television for me to watch, like just change the station, all my lights go out, my lights go back on. There's something on YouTube about the Pleiadians for me to watch. There was some fear for sure. Like shut the TV off really fast. Like, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah, I know. Those experiences are so profound. And there's a part of us, right, that's so like excited. It's like, this is what we've been waiting for. But then there's, to your earlier point, the human side of us that's like, a little freaked out right now.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And so I knew inner knowing saying you're supposed to watch this video. And I'm sitting there going, well, I'm not watching it right now because I'm not ready to watch this. And so taking a few days to acclimate to all the changes that were going on within my physical structure, because there were a lot. Eventually I got myself to watch the video and to start embracing all of these changes that were happening within me. Was literally a sledgehammer moment, to say the least. It was kind of like, wake up, wake up.
Can you tell us a little bit about like how that manifested in the physical sense, like, with your
Sure.
body, your emotional body, your physical body, and so forth?
Yeah, for sure. So I was very, very sensitive to energy, and I could feel frequency pouring through my crown, and it would hit me at any random moment throughout my day, several times a day, where it would just be this huge rush of energy coming through my crown, uh, affecting my entire body and going out of my feet. And when that would happen, it would move me off balance. It was so much energy that I would fall off balance, have to grab onto something. It was a lot. Between that, speaking the languages, my mouth would just fly open and it would just come out in full force for minutes and hours at a time. And I couldn't control it. It was really difficult. But within me, physically and emotionally and mentally, there was a huge release. I would cry as I was speaking it, and I actually would record it. So I have those earlier recordings, which are very beautiful to listen to as I'm sobbing and speaking these languages, just coming into remembrance of that truth and that peace that I was looking for. And, oh, this is who you are now. And this is what you are remembering in this moment. But also crying as releasing that density, right? We carry that around for lifetimes, and it's part of our structure. It's part of our physical being. And so when that is gone and it's released, you feel different. And I felt different. I felt like I was floating. And it was the most beautiful feeling in the world. And to move so quickly out of the fear-based reality that I had existed in for so long. And especially living in New York, just all the stress. And my whole life was about working. And so, and being stressed about the job and the clients and the this and the that. So as that released, and I'm just floating through life, and there was no fear, no stress, no worries, no concerns, no doubts, nothing but pure love, pure connection, complete and utter bliss that I can't even put into words how beautiful it was.
Yes, please.
Right.
Awesome. Well, you brought up something in the story of your sharing that's so significant and significant to this evening as well, which is how those light languages and those frequencies that were coming through, which are very much a part of your gifts and your your highly advanced crystalline container. Can you speak a little bit more on how those frequencies and codes work to shift our DNA? And
Sure.
so therefore, how in your daily practice, you're assisting in this way also.
Mm-hmm. I always say I'm my first client because I got to experience it firsthand, like you guys did as well with your own work. And so with me, it was just like releasing this density and moving into these higher states of being and knowing and trusting and pure love. And then through channeled guidance, the understanding of how that works in the DNA. So we carry both positive and negative timeline information in the DNA, or what we perceive to be negative, lower vibrational. And for most of us joining in on this earth journey and game of remembrance, we have chosen to carry that density. And now, as we are choosing to ascend, also releasing that density, the help with those vibrational tones that actually work within the DNA to bring you back into what I say remembrance, but it's vibrational remembrance as well as human mind remembrance, right? So as those codes are interacting with the DNA, you would say it is either aligning you to a higher frequency output where those timelines of disharmony no longer exist. So you're aligning to something greater and expanding into that frequency. But we have multi-dimensional DNA, right? So we have many existences and many dimensions and many realities. So if someone is currently in this earth experience, let's say they keep getting a sickness, or they're dating the same type of person, perhaps a narcissist or whatever it is, you have these repeated loops, right? Chances are you've had some experience like that in other dimensional realities, right? So if we can bring in the frequencies from ninth dimensional Pleiadian, 12th dimensional Arcturian, angelic, all these different realms and dimensions, we can start working at those different layers of the multidimensional DNA. Instead of just bringing in one frequency from one star system, we're only hitting that timeline experience within that DNA. So you're hitting many at once, if that is a good explanation.
Absolutely. That's an excellent explanation. I love it.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I'm curious for you and your session work with clients. What are some of the things that you're noticing right now that's coming up, and what are some of the frequencies that people are really, responding to?
What is so interesting, and your work, Brooklyn, probably speaks to this as well, is that you can give a group of people a single transmission. Everyone's listening to the same thing, and everybody will have a different experience depending on what the most present trauma or perceived block is that they're experiencing at that time. So when I'm doing the group work is a great gauge to see what the work is doing, because one person will have activated their own light language. Another person may have moved into a job that's more aligned to what their heart and soul wants to be. And, everything in between. Another person could have healed an injury that's been long lasting. So it's so different for everybody, which I think is amazing.
I love that. And I think that's a great way of kind of introducing a little bit more about what light language even is. And can you share a little bit? Because I know I get this question several times a week, possibly, as to, okay, well, how do you translate that?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or where's the language coming from,
Right.
And what is it bringing forth? So, could you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah. So based on my experience and the way that languages work with me, I understand that many times I'm tapping into my own subconscious and bringing that information through from other lifetimes and other realities. And many times, the different beings that are coming through will actually modulate my voice. So actually step into me and speak through me to offer a particular vibration, perhaps that I'm not able to reach or transmit in that way. So, modulating my vocal cords and what's coming out, also modulating the languages. Perhaps it's not something that I'm holding in my subconscious, but really just bringing that through me. And so bringing in this higher frequency transmission of light and sound and full remembrance of divine source, the codes of creation working through you, being transmitted to bring you back into that vibrational remembrance that I spoke about. It's sacred geometry. Many people, I can write light language, so many times it looks like sacred geometry or different codes. That also works within your field the same way. It's just another way to receive it. The way I understand, some people receive auditory. Some people can take in information better through visuals and through the energetic signature that happens. When the way mine works is that the beings will step through me, they come into your space. So for many people, they can feel that interaction. They might feel tingles, they might get hot or cold. People may want to start moving because you can also sign and dance and do light language and express it in that way. So some people often say, oh, I couldn't stop moving, or I'll be in session and people will be moving with me. So it can affect people in so many different ways. That's the way mine works, how I understand it to work, and how I see it with clients. It also, a lot of people know that the light language will shift you in frequency, so you are now vibrating differently. It also will shift you dimensionally, so that, as I talked about those multidimensional layers of DNA, you receive that activation in the DNA. It is something that is a forever change within you. And what you do after that is up to you, like I spoke about before, bringing in practices and stuff to maintain the new timelines that have opened up for you.
Yeah, I love that so much. There is something about sound that's so powerful that gives us the ability to transcend the thinking mind.
Mm.
For light language has been such a profound, addition to my spiritual practice and has helped me so greatly. And I'm just curious for you, what would you say are some of the non-negotiables for you personally in your practice?
Non-negotiables. I mean, I will never translate it. So that's a non-negotiable. People will often ask, what did it mean? And it really is such an opportunity to move out of that critical human mind chatter to try and translate or create a story around what's coming through, because our stories, although are very interesting to the human mind, we love information, we love to get all the details, but those details and those stories can actually keep you stuck in at what you're actually trying to move beyond. We become a victim of those stories and we hold on to those stories. I speak from experience. So that's a non-negotiable. I'll never translate it. It's fine and wonderful and perfect. If someone gets a knowing from the transmission, that's beautiful. That's just the higher guidance coming in and giving you a little tidbit of information that might be helpful. But really just staying in that place of flow and place of harmony and just really open to receive is the best way to move into that new earth energy, is by consciously practicing and forgetting our old way of being and moving into a new way of being. So if we continue to analyze and think and want that information, we continue to kind of stay stuck in that reality where we're not in flow and we're not trusting. So trying to steer things in that direction.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's profound. It's such a felt sense, right? It's all about the feeling center, to your point, and reconnecting us with our, main hub or intended hub of communication, our heart center.
Mm-hmm.
And our different, chakras and portals and energy centers that were intended to have far more interplay and interface with our communication and what we're receiving and what we're, shining out, so to speak. So I think that's really important. And I think more and more as people are allowing themselves to receive light language and to participate it, it's going to be something that it's like exercising a new muscle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like until you start to really participate in it, and whether it's on the receiving end or the giving end or all the that in between, it's like, okay, I need to experience it, and on a more regular basis, perhaps, so that they can get the full range. And, and it goes from this, like most things, right, from an intellectual understanding to more and more and more and more of an embodiment. And to your point, as you work with people and you give them tools, whether it's a recorded transmission or some of this, the beautiful light language that you write, the more that they interact with it and participate with it and feel into it and, and explore it with childlike curiosity and joy in different ways, the more it's going to open up and express itself, right? Because, excuse me, I know that the guides often come through to say, like, it could never be translated in linear expression because there's so much information in just a little tiny, and I don't know where I just heard this recently. I think it may have been Caroline Corey has a new documentary out, and it was so brilliant. And I thought, oh yeah, that is so brilliant, because she talks about, or someone in the documentary talks about how in just one sound or in one symbol, it encompasses what would linearly be expressed in an entire book
Yeah.
or a series of books, right? So it's it's really unprogramming or deprogramming and setting aside the thinking mind and opening up, the greater potential of our multiversal vehicles.
Yeah.
So I love that you brought that in. Thank you.
That's such a beautiful way to explain it, because everything that is coming through, like you said, is beyond what our human thinking minds could even imagine or comprehend. Like, even when I explain that beautiful bliss, I can't explain it to the full extent of what it was. I never will be able to explain it, because it's something that's experienced. And as you experience it, just like the light language that's coming through, it is this divine grand remembrance through your entire system, the physical body, but also expanding out beyond the physical body and the mental, the emotional, and everything in between. It's just this big whoosh of divine perfection that you can't even put into words.
Yeah, I can feel it radiating from you. I think something that a lot of people don't know about you is that you're a profound channel, and bring through such beautiful wisdom and guidance. I mean, they know you as a profound channel of light language, and yet I don't know that they know you for all the other amazing gifts and abilities that you possess. So can you just give us a little, walk us through? I know we meet each person where they are. And I know when people ask me, oh, what do you do? And, in private session work, it's so different for each person, right? Because we truly are, asking to bring forth whatever's in the highest and best interest in this now moment. But just, can you give us a general kind of
Sure.
overview of what might happen? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And I thank you for saying that. Thank you so much. I will talk and see what's going on vibrationally with the person, where they are. I can usually assess the energy very quickly. I can tune in before the session and assess the energy, and then my human mind getting involved in when they show up, and I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, that was spot on. And really then just taking it to where they need. What are they looking for? And giving them higher guidance in the direction of that. And again, trying to help them move out of that expectation and just being open to that. We can certainly gear the session towards that, but let's be open to see what else comes through, because quite often what we think we need is not really what we need. And so bringing through and being in that place of allowance to receive whatever is in the highest and greatest good in that now moment. And, clients are great because they usually will move into flow with that and just allow themselves to be in that present moment to receive. And so we'll talk a little bit, we'll go through an opening. I can give about, sessions are usually 45 minutes of straight light language. So all kinds of information coming through. At the end, we'll conclude, we'll have a little discussion. I'll share what came through on my end. They'll share what they received on their end, and we'll kind of talk about it in that way.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think one of the things that makes you so, well, lots of things make you so profound. And I just love you personally and in all realms and ways. So um, is that something that's really unique is that you're both a trans channel as well as a conscious channel. And I think that, you know, a lot of times it may be one or the other, but what really creates even a greater uniqueness of what you share and offer to people through your gifts is that you do both.
Mm.
And I know that I get the question a lot of times, you know, can you help me distinguish or understand between, you know, what is a trans channel and what's a conscious channel? Could you share just briefly on that, just in case there's anyone out
Yeah.
there wondering?
Sure. So for the conscious channel, you're in your conscious body, you're aware of the room and the person you're sitting with, and the information will flow through. People will call it a download. I've received a download of information, right? So information is coming through you, not from your conscious mind, but from your heart, and allowing that space to be open. And you're just relaying that information as it comes through. And then for the unconscious or trance channel, I just get in that open heart space. And usually this is how the light language will come through in this session. I just am present. I connect to for the person to receive the highest and greatest. And I just kind of almost, I don't want to say I step aside, but my consciousness goes somewhere else. And it is flowing through me in a way I could not even replicate if I tried.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing on that.
Mhm.
Do we have questions?
We do have a couple of questions, and I want to, open it up and give the opportunity for anybody who's joining us live to ask questions as well. One question that I had for you is if anybody is experiencing blockages from source light, what are some ways that you recommend, removing those blockages and, moving into greater alignment?
Mhm. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, doing that DNA work and receiving those frequencies to move that energy, because like we spoke about how multi-layered that information is coming through, and just the power of sound and how it affects our entire structure is a wonderful way. And also too, then bringing in that conscious practice of asking, in any given moment, if I am feeling and embodying love, and I shift out of love and move into fear or anything aligned to fear. And when I say fear, I don't mean just I'm afraid of something. I mean, if I moved into any state of disharmony, am I feeling sick? Am I feeling confused? Am I feeling stressed or worried or whatever it is? If I'm vibrating on the opposite spectrum of love, asking that question, okay, where is this coming from? What am I feeling that isn't aligned to the truth that I know I am? And start asking those questions. And again, this is a practice and it takes time, but even setting the intention every day to higher self, dear higher self, assist me in seeing truth in everything that I do, in every encounter. Assist me in understanding true divine love. And if I move out of that, show me why, show me and help me understand. Because like I said, when we're moving out of love, it's an opportunity to transform something that we've been holding on to. So just asking the questions, why am I feeling this? What does it feel like in my body? Does it feel expansive, or does it feel like this? Does it hurt? Am I getting chills? Am I afraid? Whatever it is. And then saying, okay, where's this coming from? What point of separation am I holding on to? Is it safety and security? Do I feel unsafe right now? Or am I experiencing some sort of lack? Where is this lack coming from? Or am I looking for approval? am I running some program people pleaser? Like we've talked about Brooklyn. Am I running that program? Am I looking for approval? Is it a fear of abandonment? Where is this coming from? And then once you identify it, then you can start to take conscious steps to face it, have gratitude for what you've been shown, because all experiences are always wonderful and divine, no matter what spectrum they're on. If we can look at everything we experience just as an exploration of frequency, right? Then it gives us that power of saying, I've chosen all of it. And there's no right or wrong with any of those choices. It's just something I've chosen to explore. And I don't want to explore it anymore. I'm ready to move beyond it. And then getting done with it once and for all, getting the lesson, getting the understanding, and saying, okay, now I can do something different, and responding to that in a different way than what you used to. Because again, like moving into that higher timeline is doing things different than we used to do. So meeting that situation in a higher way, from a higher viewpoint.
Perfect. Love that so much.
Spoken like a true master.
We did receive one question from Anita. She said, so happy to be here with you, and thank you for gifts and sharing them with us. So appreciate you. Her question is about letting go of the lower ego mind and being led from the sacred heart only. Also, in fully allowing the flow of abundance from her stream of divinity.
So you've already set the intention, right? That this is something that you want to move beyond. So first, getting clear on that intention, which you have. And then again, asking those questions. Why am I not in flow? What do I need to see? What perceived block am I holding on to? And going through those steps, eventually you gain that clarity and you gain that awareness, but also being totally okay and fine in the not knowing, and doing things to support moving into higher alignment. Eventually you will be shown. So just moving into trust with that open heart, that if I am moving forward on this path with my clear intention, and I am always in daily practice and remembrance of that truth and that knowing, and understanding that it's okay to fall back and experience something different. Everything is always okay. You're so ahead of the game, because again, it's like training a new muscle and doing things different, and acknowledging that everything is okay. It is always divinely perfect, whatever shows up.
Yeah, beautifully said. Yeah, I think you touched upon some of the the foundational principles and wisdom of transmute, soul alchemy, and transmuting that which no longer serves us, which is shining the light, right? Bringing in the awareness, and then being once having the awareness, keeping yourself in a place of surrender and openness and faith and trust. And I know we all know how much I love mantraing faith, trust, and surrender.
It's so
And
perfect.
transparency. But it's true.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
true.
so
They're
true.
the key ingredients, right?
It's so true.
Yeah,
And
beautifully said.
I can share an experience that I just had the other day. I relocated to Ohio, so I'm in a rental and I'm looking to get something more permanent. I found the perfect place, which I perceived as perfect. And I made my offer, and it turned into this thing where there are so many offers on the table. And instantly I shifted into fear and total attachment to this property, and started going through but what if I offer this? And what if I offer that? And oh my gosh, that's too much money. But I can't lose this property. And then I took a moment. I went, wait a minute, what are you doing? Like, get back, come back to center, breathe through it. What is truth in this situation? And find that truth, get to center, and then make your offer from that point without fear. If we make that decision in fear, we're going to get a response that's aligned to that. So make that decision from a total place of trust and love and truth and knowing, and then see what happens. And guess what? I got it. So there we
Yay!
go.
Nice work.
That's such a
Yeah.
great story. I think it is, it's the process of turning on the observer and being curious about what is this experience here to show me that can be
Mhm.
so transformative. So I love that example. We have one other question. Can spirit and angels be used interchangeably for guidance on a daily basis?
Meaning if you're connecting with one or the other, or sure, you can connect to whoever you set that intention to connect to, is the way I see that. Of course, all of our spirit can be galactic, angelic, from all the different realms as far as I perceive it, right?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think, any being that we call upon that's aligned with divinity would be a willing participant in any form of communication. That's my experience, and that's what I often hear the guides saying, is that you don't have to be assigned, through someone who has experience with intuiting. You don't have to be assigned to a particular collective or a group of beings, although certainly there are certain beings and collectives that we have assignments with. We can really just call upon whomever we're feeling a sense of resonance with and desire to communicate with. So, yeah, I agree with that. And I think there was one question too about MP3 or something. Oh.
Yeah. Is there the opportunity to purchase MP3s of you speaking light language?
Oh, someone else emailed me that the other day. There will be the stuff that I do for the telesummits are all MP3, and I'll be putting them on my website very soon. Like, give me a month.
Awesome. Well, while we're on the topic, I know we're going to go into a transmission, but love to know if there's any offerings or, just ways that people can connect with you.
Yeah, so there's lots of free stuff. Whenever I'm on a show, I'm always offering a free transmission, as I will today. Then with the telesummit packages, those are always a huge discount. And I try to give a lot of light language with that. Usually, I think this last one I did is over 5 hours of live transmissions. And then we have about 3 hours of recorded transmissions. So I try to offer a lot in those. Those are usually the best deal. And then on the website, the private sessions. But it's good to know that, people sometimes shy away from the group thing, but the group thing is so co-creative and collaborative. And like I said before, you can have as profound of an experience in a group setting as you can one-on-one, because the codes are working with each person individually. So don't discount the group sessions. There's a lot that can happen in those.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a saying that I think is often accredited to Yeshua or Jesus: when one or more are gathered in a place, there's great power. And I'm sure I'm not speaking it verbatim, as I tend not to. So I tend to get these things not completely spot on, but we understand what the message is behind that, right?
Yeah.
When we're gathering, our vibrations connecting through our hearts, it's palpable and
Yeah.
it's so powerful, and it can, it radiates and just raises the experience, I feel, even greater.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I think we have a few more questions for you. And one question is about fear. And I know we touched on this a bit before, but I think, it is important. There's so much that's happening right now and change. And so somebody asked about just getting out of a constant state of fear that really they're battling with.
Right. So we always have the opportunity to make another choice. And, that choice obviously has to come from that open heart. if we're in fear, it's very difficult to make that choice. So then how can we shift into that open heart if we're having so much fear? Of course, there's practices like meditation and listening to transmissions and doing stuff to shift your energy. Also, really stepping into that, okay, I don't know what it feels like to not be in fear, but I'm excited to know what that would feel like. I'm excited about not feeling what I'm feeling right now, or I'm excited to feel love or bliss or joy or just peace, and shifting your focus towards that, really not shifting on what you don't want, but what you do want. And if you can't imagine it, just get excited about what that would be and what that experience would feel like. Because then when you shift into that excitement, then you can start creating, oh, well, if I had peace, if I could experience peace, I could then X, Y, and Z, or just doing something to shift into some other thing other than fear. The power of the mind is it's so powerful. So, I mean, that's a great starting point. And just, even if you don't know how to get into an open heart space, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and think of a pet. Pets are easy to connect with that energy because we love them unconditionally, no matter what, so connect with that energy. And then from there, say, I'd love to feel peace. I'd love to feel joy. I'd love to feel balance and harmony, whatever it is. And then operate through that frequency and just keep going back to that, until it becomes easier and easier. And it will, if you continue to take that conscious practice of doing that and shifting it. Because, people like to say affirmations. We can say affirmations until we're blue in the face, but if we don't believe what we're saying, we're never going to align to it. So really getting in that space of, I'm excited to see this or experience this, and then trusting that things will align in that direction.
I love that so much. I think, connecting with emotion can be so powerful. Thoughts can be difficult. So I love that you brought in excitement, and, tapping into that frequency can be amazing. So yeah, thank you for that. And another question from Anna. She said, I love vibrational remembrance. Anything more that Velentaya would share on this significant topic? Any special experiences around this or resonant insights?
Personal experiences of vibrational remembrance. Sure. I mean, when I was speaking those light languages, I literally shifted my entire frequency. And like I said, I aligned to pure bliss and joy and love, and something beyond I'd ever felt. And trusting that that is available for everyone. There's nothing special about me. I was open. I was in a place to receive that information in that perfect divine timing. And I wasn't in a place of trying to control my reality and control my outcome. I was in a full place of surrender because I had the luxury of not knowing anything. I didn't know what was going on in my reality. I went from something very different to this beautiful state of being, and I couldn't control it because I had no understanding of what was actually happening. So trusting that anyone can experience that. It's all about stepping out of the way, really, and allowing.
Love that. Love that. And I want to mention one thing that the guides are quite chirpy about right now. That was a common thread through pretty much all of the wisdom that you were bringing through to share, and in response to the questions, is really tapping into that childlike curiosity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really coming in and exploring every single thing that's taking place within our own microcosm and that around us, through the eyes and the innocence of it, the child, and that childlike curiosity. If we continue to ask questions, to your point, which you so beautifully have shared in different ways, the more and more we ask questions, the less and less we stop and form judgments, right? And then as soon as we start to create a judgment, or, deem something this or that, or, however one wants to look at it, then we box it in, right? Then we're kind of in that space, and we're not really continuing to move through something and move beyond something. And, and so I think it's really profound that's come up so many times. And I just wanted to point that out as something that can really be explored even more. Just what does childlike curiosity mean?
Mhm.
And how can I apply that? Because it really does bring us into the 0 point. It brings us into that place of we are God, sovereign, free beings. We're here to create anew, to your point, try something different, shift our reality, choose our lens. We have the power. We are creative and empowered sovereign beings. And so the more we go into that place of joy and curiosity and follow, sort of the breadcrumbs in that direction when we're trying to move out of some felt sense of stagnation or, we feel like we're closed in, then we naturally bring ourselves more and more into the present moment and more into the 0 point. So I love how you've brought that in and threaded it through each of the questions.
Oh, thank you for actually adding that, because I think it's so significant to bring in that childlike joy, because we hold that separation in that inner child structure. That is where it's first cut off from source. And so we've almost forgotten how to be in joy and be in that place of curiosity. So just having that awareness of that, it's so significant to even just setting that intention to, bring me into joy today. Help me to remember that childlike joy and innocence and exploration that we were in before we were told to color within the lines and to not express yourself in a certain way and to be in this little box and to dress a certain way and talk a certain way and act a certain way and not be who we truly want to be. So really setting intention to remember ourselves as that childlike joy, peace, love, bliss, all of that will also help to move in the direction of something higher than that separation that we're currently experiencing or holding.
Yeah, totally. And what I'm hearing the guide saying right now is, through the light languages that you're bringing through and I don't know if everybody just saw that, but there's this huge shift. There was this huge flash of light through the transmissions that you're bringing through and you're bringing those frequencies that allow and assist people in accessing their divine birthright of childlike joy, their divine birthright of connecting with themselves as the radiant beings of pure source love that they are. And so just another way of understanding the profundity of the transmissions that you're bringing through and what they can offer and they can provide people.
Yeah, that's beautiful explanation.
Are we ready?
I think
Are you up for it?
Yes, of course.
Yay!
All right. How long or how much time or?
That's completely up to you.
Okay.
Whatever you feel is whatever aligns.
All right. Let me clear my voice. And we'll just start with some breathing and just connecting to the heart with pure intention to relax and receive, and using your breath to move into that space with a big, deep breath in through the nose and just expanding your entire torso, filling up your entire body with love. We breathe in breaths of love and breaths of joy and peace and harmony and balance. And exhale and just releasing anything that is not love, that isn't peace, that isn't joy, and letting it all go with your breath. And just breathing at a pace that's good and right for you, relaxing into this now moment. All you have to do is breathe and relax and receive. and just connecting with the guides aligned to the highest divine light and love. And anything else we bind from this transmission. And just continue breathing in love and joy and peace and harmony and balance and remembrance of all that you are. And relaxing as you receive. I en adu hadandai esa. Viseya isha erea danatu kai sasue kaseaku dansoa. Yeshono torosaya. Genese vosaya sutrosayak unsayo. Ishatu eshan sai san saika. Morahia natuisa. Gora ela fora sonse kasno eada. Domesele fon atumbat da tutorat zit chat dot drat dot diasha. Get det et an o rot ar ro iret et kin un in an al o. Karapala tinrai san chando tronti kin chantu drati kanui kantana mesotroeti. Shenedeta da lavora in brode. Corabora sasura dumbekile click ik ulik ut diet dot dal dubrat papatik josh dut dish don un ekit dundu ele pu boresana sone en uru genasora un sikusun utis shotrutia tsutashwe unumu amutui kamasore eso vuts ansukele boro ansa alafo tre ane kemasomana miashon un sapapapaya sui I si an koyana tu eabova bella fore sam mao ene yame sedu ishidu kudu kituisa dianu tu dia se tindi tini fidie dadia te atadaya kama anite sindi itsikutu utiasmasi sanne siwin amma yua oena lo sai metuan era sego sai feso andale corana segora ayenora mayembo aneo anueka enesa lo sito kanegoranaeti nasoraye analaikan ikan de tikiti voto kue shotu kuti viti tai tikele katarati kisha to tia bashta vea tutere tikiti dita to fese kudure tikarati to asati keto butita puture vesha dipetita to desha daketia pachata tebo soto to etika patata pasate vesha davatata tela kota tatu to handu katateta tosha takiteti kitatesha to tepa soto to mato tora tata davasato kodi tisha tata davasai getai soko Kiti visa forma se vetoro se vetarato cure vetarato da ricasce molta cata bota tata cosa tapa sota vesha dava tutti ti chata cati ve he ha hanata gensalo che se savo trataso hesha conotorati can in atini tine vete can et iti talati tea si atita ni tea tenacatiata tu I ti an tui sien o and oya o and dean alayura o amore gaiendore saelea aloe ondu seboratu ekatu matura ama ayaroa kavolo asaue kitiania neleatue saye niasora seanzisheto kuya pai dendet diao evo ivi budora pa not bo at o go iao kamoki di unedu en anu kedo o horu eta vu yi ritmo o yuro o korisno o du budo ora du yo Miaya o ai ai o yasen la jo yame ai o sile ayaka si neseti kukai vesa yele si de se ni ti ni ati ni ati kuka tu ni. Slowly using your breath to come back into your body, coming back into the room with your breath. Slowly, slowly, slowly breathing back into the heart, coming back in. And I want to thank all the guides that came through today to deliver this transmission. I ask that all of your shifts are done with love and ease and grace and joy, and that your results are permanent, profound, and so much more than what you could have ever asked for above and beyond. Thanking all the guides again. We are so grateful. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And just opening your eyes whenever you're ready.
That was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Profound. So profound, I can't even figure out how to put my headphones back on.
They brought that childlike joy in. Did you hear
Totally.
that?
So much.
That was so much fun. I was smiling from the heart all the way up. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we so grateful for having you here to share your beauty and your wisdom and grace. And I know our listeners are so equally grateful. And we look forward to hopefully having you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful. And thank you everyone who showed up to join in and co-create with us today.
Yes, many blessings to you and to everyone joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. Thank you.